The Department of Homeland Security is warning that online extremist forums are encouraging copycat attacks after the mass shooting at Robb Elementary in Uvalde, Texas. The DHS says these extremist platforms are taking advantage of the shooting to spread disinformation and incite more users, especially those who are young and male. So for more, let's bring in CBS News Homeland Security and Justice reporter Nicole Sganga. Hey, Nicole, thanks so much for being here. I know you've been all over this story. So what more can you tell us about this bulletin?
Thanks for having me, Caitlin. Well, according to today's bulletin, some of these online platforms have also seized on the Uvalde shooting in hopes of spreading this false claim that it was a government-staged event meant to advance gun control measures. Today's bulletin points out that both the suspect in the Buffalo shooting and the shooter behind the 2019 El Paso massacre said they were inspired by the attacker of two mosques in Christchurch, New Zealand earlier that year. You might remember that from 2019. And so this possibility of ideological beliefs prompting copycat attacks in the wake of Buffalo, in the wake of Uvalde, is the main concern here. That is what keeps these DHS officials up at night.
And what does more dynamic mean? And what else should we expect?
Yeah, dynamic is this term used by Homeland Security officials that, points to a more nuanced threat environment. There are overlaps. It's not a straight line. I'll give you one example. This month, the Supreme Court is set to issue its final decision on whether or not to overturn Roe versus Wade. Of course, we've already seen that draft majority opinion, but law enforcement remains concerned and pointed out in this bulletin, grievances relating to restricting abortion access could fuel a much broader response here, not just from violent extremists who are pro-choice, but, for example, individuals that are motivated by racial or ethnic beliefs. They're seeing more overlap between those encouraging racist violence and anti-abortion policies, both which share this sort of long history of extremist anxiety about, fertility and great replacement conspiracy theories in the United States and beyond. So that is why this dynamic threat environment is so challenging. There are so many overlaps, and officials are really piecing through online content to try to determine what is specific, what is credible.
That's really startling to see all those connections. Do we know about who is actually carrying out these attacks and any sense of where they're meeting online?
Yeah, Caitlin, you alluded to this earlier. DHS officials telling us that they understand that younger individuals sometimes fail to seek out credible information online. That disinformation has driven aggrieved actors to violence, in some cases teenagers. In fact, since 2018, 6 of the 9 deadliest mass shootings in the United States have been carried out by gunmen 21 years of age or younger. One challenge here is really, again, determining what are the specific and credible calls to violence among these young people online, some on encrypted platforms, which is harder for law enforcement, to gain access to. And of course, with First Amendment free speech concerns, there is this question of at what point does, some of this content turn violent? At what point should police get involved?
Yeah, really interesting, but fascinating that they're able to create some kind of profile of who's doing this. And you kind of touched on this a little bit, but what are some of these beliefs that are being spread on these social media sites? What are they really talking about here?
Yeah, analysts and researchers from DHS have been scanning these online platforms, particularly those known to house some of these conspiracy theories. And, they found a pattern in the wake of Uvalde, in the wake of Buffalo, this baseless great replacement or white genocide conspiracy theory I mentioned before. It falsely alleges that minorities, multiculturalists, and a ruling elite are deliberately threatening the existence of the white race. Now, officials are also tracking other threats related to the midterm elections in November. Of course, we've got more primaries, coming up, and that applies to both U.S.-based actors that could reprise some of their 2020 election grievances, but it also covers foreign actors trying to sow discord and influence here, as we've seen before from countries like Russia and Iran. And finally, amid the ongoing Russian invasion of Ukraine, government analysts also finding that Russia and other actors have amplified conspiracy theories alleging that the United States, falsely, of course, is responsible for the war ongoing in Ukraine right now.
Certainly a persistent threat that we've seen in these elections. I mean, it's fascinating that they're able to kind of pinpoint and find all of this and create awareness. But what can these government agencies actually do to prevent such attacks? Is there anything they can really do?
Yeah, we've seen a fair amount of funding, dollars and resources that have been, thrown in the direction of threat mitigation in recent years. For example, in 2022, DHS provided $250 million in funding to support nonprofits at high risk of terrorist attacks. So, for example, places of worship, hardening that physical security. And Secretary Mayorkas, Secretary of DHS, has proposed raising those allocations to $360 million total in fiscal year 2023. Now, DHS also awarding 37 grants amounting to $20 million as part of what it's called its Targeted Violence and Terrorism Prevention Program in 2021, designed to help local communities combat extremist threats. The Biden administration has also issued more than 100 intelligence products related to domestic violent extremism, including 6 of these types of terrorist bulletins. The latest one expires November 30th. But we should also note, Caitlin, what both federal and state law enforcement is trying to do here is also to try to reach out and empower the whole community, the local community, be it teachers, school administrators, counselors, faith leaders, to be engaged, because it's those individuals that will be the first ones to potentially identify an individual that may be at risk of going down a path of violence and notifying law enforcement or notifying other social services. So that is the strategy here by federal and state law enforcement, obviously throwing some funding at this problem, but also trying to empower local leaders and members of the community to really speak out when they see something.
Fascinating. There's so many layers to this, but such an important thread here as we're following this story. Nicole Sganga, thank you so much, as always, for your reporting.
Thank you.